considered an NPR is only what HUD states is an NPR. Now the following is a set of inspection points that will help you identify what HUD's minimum property repairs are. The first three items are going to be inspection recommendations if you have any concern with these points. If you have an idea that there may be a grading issue due to some sitting water in the front of the house, as an appraiser, we are not qualified to determine what it would cost to regrade the front of that property. We would take pictures of all damaged areas and recommend an inspection. Structural issues, foundation walls. This is going to be this is one of the most important aspects of a property. Many times there's minor cracks throughout the foundation. When there's minor cracks and there's no cracks to doorways or window seals on the inside of the property, an appraiser should recommend an inspection and note their concern in the report. However, should not try and attempt to provide a repair estimate. Minor cracks can be filled. Now, however, if the cracks are major and there's definite sloping or sagging on the interior of the property, you see signs of excessive settlement on the interior of the property. Now, as an appraiser, you're definitely going to recommend that inspection, and likely, depending on the value of the property, determine whether a major repair would be feasible. For instance, if the properties in this area were selling for $20,000, the foundation has obvious issues that we as an appraiser can't provide an estimate for, this property would likely be valued as land. And as an appraiser, you would have a reasonable basis to value this property as land, given that most likely that damaged foundation repair is going to be far in excess of $5,000. Crawl spaces, siding, stucco, defective paint, chipping, flaking paint in pre-1978 homes, exterior doors and windows. All doors and windows have to be securable. Roofing damage. If a roof is worn, however, there's no leaks on the interior, then a roof you should recommend an inspection due to your visual inspection. However, a roofing repair would not necessarily be provided given that there's no leaks, so you have no basis to repair the whole roof. We'll go further into this in the question and answer portion. Now, the following items, as we noted before, you're going to be required to rely on the PCR. We're going to get into the PCR in the next section. Furnace, electrical, and plumbing are the main mechanical items in a property. And as an appraiser, or for HUD properties, these items are rarely on at the time of your inspection. It doesn't make sense for HUD to keep these properties powered up, given the fact that they've possibly have been vacant for months at a time, if not years at a time. So again, that's where the PCR comes in. I left mold here alone. Mold is another huge issue. As an appraiser, anytime you see mold, you should always apply an inspection recommendation. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of mold. And if you're not a mold inspector or have some kind of mold certification, as an appraiser, you should call this black growth or black substance on walls and recommend an inspection for it. Or recommend an inspection to determine whether it is in fact mold and remediate it. Now, often when you get to the property has been tagged for mold. In this case, you would do the same thing. You would take pictures of the infected areas, take pictures of the tag, and recommend an inspection for mold. HUD isn't expecting you to apply a cost to cure for mold. Now, we aren't asking you to make the assumption that mold does not exist. You can your reflection of the condition of the property may still be a fair or poor condition due to the damage on the walls. However, we're just not asking you to make a repair for it. My last comment here in this section, any item that has any value or affects the value in this property must be photographed. All damages must be photographed, especially items which you consider minimum property repairs. To properly format your appraisal, you should list the number of photos in the same order as you listed them on the NPR list. The following is an example, and this is the third out of the 5 items we noted above. This is an example of a property condition report that will be provided to you. And in this particular property condition report, in most property condition reports, they give you a lot of information, and much of it is used. However, some of it is just standard information. In this particular case, all items have been tested and found to be functional. There's been no damages. So your reference to this PCR within your report would be per the PCR dated, and you would reference whatever date was on this PCR. The mechanical systems were checked and found to be functional. The second property condition report, we have damage to the plumbing system. If you look at the 4th item down, plumbing is damaged, and pressure test failed the 50 psi at 20-minute test. Now, this particular inspector could not determine what the problem was. In this case, unless you have noticed pipes missing or something missing in the property, which is going to be rare, especially if the inspector did not see it, we would have to inspect, provide an inspection recommendation to determine the cost to repair that plumbing damage. The proper reference to this PCR would be per PCR dated, whatever the date of the PCR, the mechanical systems were tested, the heating and electrical systems were functional, the plumbing system will not hold air pressure. So we are referencing this PCR. We don't know what the problem is. We know there is a problem. So we're going to provide an inspection recommendation. Now, this last example of a PCR, there is damage. There's damage to the furnace. It wasn't functional, and we have a reason why it wasn't functional. In this case, the furnace has been vandalized for parts. It could not be tested. Now, also the plumbing is damaged. Copper plumbing has been stolen. So we have 2 problems that we can determine a cost for. And the last item, there's a missing toilet in the bathroom. We can determine a cost for that. And the way you would refer to this PCR, per PCR dated, the mechanical systems were tested, the electrical systems were functional, the plumbing and heating systems were not functional. Now, the NPR items in this case would be the replacement of the furnace, replacement of the copper plumbing, and it's not written here, but replacement of the missing toilet. Now, the 4th item of the 5 is how to estimate repairs. This is an area where a lot of appraisers have the same argument. I'm not an expert in that field. How am I to know what it costs to repair the roof or so on and so forth? Now, as an appraiser, there are many cost manuals that you can utilize to find these estimates. And again, keyword is estimates. Number 1 would be you have to become familiar with your local contractors. Many contractors will give you a ballpark estimate over the phone, especially as they get to know you in the area. A ballpark estimate over the phone would be a supported estimate as an NPR item. Marshall & Swift is a pay site, or you can buy their book, and that is a great way to determine drywall repairs, flooring repairs, plumbing repairs, electrical repairs, overall building repairs. You do have to pay for that site, but it's a great tool to utilize. Buildercot.net, that's a free site that will give you a lot of repairs, basic repairs to a property, structural damage, roofing, and overall construction knowledge. This is where we kind of got into it earlier. An appraiser has to be aware of common REO repairs. Common REO repairs would be items such as roof tear-off and replacement, rewiring of a property, minor plumbing damage, repiping of a property, furnace replacement, paint repairs, etc. Now that we determined what our NPRs are, we can give our opinion of insurability. And just to reiterate what we went over earlier, a property with 0 NPRs or minimum property repairs would be considered insurable. A property with $1 to $5,000 in repairs would be insurable with repair escrow, meaning the buyer of this property would be allotted $5,000 in an escrow account to make these repairs upon their purchase. A property which is uninsurable has over $5,000 in repairs. And another one, there's a few other items in which would make a property uninsurable. I've added one here that's pretty common. On manufactured property, if the exterior HUD tags are missing, the property would be considered uninsurable. If the property has the interior paper or the certificate on the inside, it doesn't matter. It needs the exterior permanent HUD tags for that property to be insurable. Now that we have gone over the 5 main differences between an FHA REO appraisal, I'm going to stop for some questions. We can further go over NPR scenarios, and I just want to be sure we haven't lost anybody along the way. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll unmute you, and we can discuss those questions out loud to the group. Okay. Well, we have one question. Looks like Curtis is letting us know that buildercosts.net is a broken link. You know what? I'll double check it when I get back to my office. And Curtis, I will provide you with the updated link if there is one. I was just on it the other day, but I will double check it.